Welcome, everybody. My name is Hubert David. I'm the Head of Partnerships and Innovation at the Éducalois and part of the PLEI Connect team, offering you a series of webinars in the online community, pleiconnect.ca. We are starting today's fifth webinar, Writing for the Web and SEO, Search Engine Optimization. It's part of a series of 6 different webinars and web labs that we've been offering you in the course of the PLEI Connect project. So our schedule today is, my welcome and introduction, Hubert David, Head of Partnerships and Innovation at Éducalois. And our speakers today will be Jill Peirce, Sales and Marketing Coordinator at Open Road, and Darren Gibbons, Co-Founder and President of Open Road. And on Thursday's Web Lab, actually, Caroline Boilly, Web Editor-in-Chief of Éducalois, but she's already joining us today as a panelist in case we want to address her or see things. But you'll see today we're going to talk theory with the folks at Open Road and best practices. And on Thursday's Web Lab, Caroline will take the very good first chunk of the Web Lab to say how we've adapted it at Éducalois, all these best practices, because, all the best practices are for, all websites, but how do we adapt it in legal information website? So that's on Thursday. Just a reminder of the project partners for PLEI Connect. It's CLEO, Community Legal Education of Ontario, Courthouse Libraries of BC, Éducalois, and PovNet. So we're a good team. And just a reminder that our great project funders for this project are the Law Foundation of Ontario and the Department of Justice of Canada, and they're really the ones that allow us to bring you these wonderful series of webinars and web labs. So a quick introduction. This 1-hour webinar seeks to arm webmasters and web copywriters with the theory and the practical skills to optimize their website. It will begin with an explanation of how search engines work and why you should focus on search engine optimization. You will be exposed to several theories and methods for search engine optimization, and finally you'll learn a number of technical skills, tools, and tactics that you need to successfully optimize your website. So introductions about Jill Peirce. She's the Sales Marketing and Coordinator, so you have a picture of her there. She works on content marketing, SEO, paid search, website optimization, and social media for both Open Road and Thought Farmer. Prior to Open Road, she worked for a digital marketing agency specializing in search engine marketing for clients such as the HSBC, Mountain Equipment Co-op, and 7-Eleven, and Marriott. She's active in the Vancouver marketing community, where she volunteers for both the BC AMA and NABS West. She's also a graduate of the Marketing Management Program at the British Columbia Institute of Technology. Joining her is Darren Gibbons, the co-founder and president of Open Road. Darren's guided and led Open Road since co-founding the company in 1995. His hands-on approach and technical know-how has helped organizations like the BC Supreme Court, Electronic Arts, IntraWest, Pokemon, and WorkSafe BC achieve success with innovative and powerful web applications. He also leads the product management efforts of Thought Farmer, Open Road's social internet product. He's being in the web business for 18 years. He has a vast knowledge of everything online, including SEO, and he uses his expertise to help clients as well as Open Road ensure their websites are not only high quality, but also findable by the right audience. So Jill and Darren will be today. I'll quickly introduce you to Caroline also, who will be there mostly for the Web Lab. But so Caroline is the Web Editor-in-Chief at Éducalois. She has a bachelor's degree in journalism and a master's degree in communications. She's been a journalist for over 10 years, working as a writer, producer, and editor for radio, television, and web-based media, amongst many the CBC or Radio-Canada. Also, documentary filmmaker. Her short films have been shown at festivals here and abroad, and she has been at the Éducalois since August 2011, where she's editor-in-chief of the organization's website. So if you have any questions, again, please use the Q&A part of your screen at the bottom right for most of you, and we'll ask them towards the end of the session. We'll save a good 10 minutes for that. But until then, let me pass the baton or the ball to Jill, who will be starting her presentation now, and with Darren.
Thank you so much, Jill. So, hi. So thank you for the great introduction. I'm going to be walking you through most of the slides today, and then Darren will be jumping in to add his expertise as well and his commentary. So to get started, let's look at the first big question, which is why. So with search engine optimization, I think most of us know it's a good practice that we should be doing, but we also have a lot of time pressure, and it is a time commitment. So let's talk about why this search engine optimization is a good investment of your time. And we're going to do a sample search, and I'm going to pick a little bit on BC today, just because that's where I happen to be located. So let's pretend that I wanted to search for legal advice in BC. And I would enter my search in Google. I'm sure you guys have all seen this thousands of times. The majority of what you see on the top part of the screen, so above the fold, is advertisements, and then the yellow section is organic search. So that's the yellow section is what search engine optimization is going to impact. So you might think that looks a little bit small, but when we take a look at the actual amount of traffic that search engine optimization or organic traffic drives into your website, we see that it's much larger than the amount that advertising. So if you look at the big blue wedge here, it would be search engine optimization compared to the red wedge, which would be paid marketing or those ads that you see on the side. And that's because people trust organic search results a lot more than they trust paid advertisements. And of all the marketing channels here, social, inbound referral links, blogs, and direct traffic, search engine optimization is the biggest source of traffic to websites. So if you can improve this section of the pie, it'll make the biggest impact on your overall web traffic. So let's get back to our sample search. I typed in legal, legal ABC, and taking a look at what shows up here, we can see that we come up at number 9. So ClickLaw, which is one of the members, appears in 9th place. What is the difference between 9th place and, let's say, 2nd or 1st place? So 9th place, if we look at a graph here, 9th place gives us about 0.57 to 1.52% of clicks of the people who get that type of search result. So compared to 1st, we can see the 1st gets about 9 to about 18% of clicks. So it's a really big difference. People like to click what's at the top. They think it's more relevant, and also people don't scroll down very much. So the difference that can make here is between being in 9th place and being in 1st place, you can increase by about 15 times the amount of clicks to your website. So ranking does matter. So in conclusion of why search engine optimization is important, organic search is the #1 driver of your website traffic. Organic search is much less expensive, read-free, compared to doing paid search. Especially with legal-type words, paid search can be really expensive. And the last important point is that slight changes in your ranking, even moving from 5th to 4th, is going to make a significant impact in the click-through rates and who gets to your website, and ultimately your traffic. So great, now we know why it's important. Let's talk a little bit about how. And before we can really understand how to optimize for search, it's important to understand how search engines themselves work. So you'll hear a lot of different discussion around this because it is definitely really complicated, and Google keeps their algorithm top secret, but this will give you an overview of how it works. So step 1 is search engines will crawl the internet, and they follow through the links that are on each website in order to make a map of what's on the internet. So this is actually a visualization of what the internet looks like, and you can see it's huge and quite complicated. So they take all this data and make a big list of it. Now they have to determine what data is important, what actually shows on that page. And don't worry, we're not actually going to do these complicated equations, but they do a lot of different equations to determine what's relevant when they return search results. The last step is that the user inputs a search into the search query, and they'll get the results screen that we saw. So the results here are going to be ranked on two things. So first is relevance. Is the page relevant to the search term? And that's going to look at what your on-page, what's actually on the content on your website, and determine if that page should show up in the results. And the second thing it's going to look at is importance. So how important is the page compared to the other results that showed up? And that's going to determine the order of the search results. Now, this is one thing, and I will repeat this over and over in the presentation today, because when I was learning SEO, this is one thing that the person who was teaching me said over and over and really drilled into my head, is that Google rewards timely, relevant content. So Google is successful because they're able to deliver the best results to the searchers. And when you make the best content that is timely and relevant and optimized for searchers, but really it is the best content, Google wants to put that into the top of their results. So that's our big focus, is always timely, relevant content, and we'll talk about a little bit more how to do that. Before we get into what to do, we wanted to talk about what not to do. Now, SEO, some of you may have heard some negative perceptions about it in the past, and that was driven a lot by people finding ways within those complicated algorithms that Google uses to exploit them and do things to make their website rank falsely higher than it actually should. And that's also known as black hat SEO. A lot of these aren't going to work anymore, and Google has a spam team that looks for ways that people are deceiving their algorithm and then de-indexes the website, meaning that it won't appear in search results at all if you get caught doing any of these things. So we'll just do a quick review of what not to do and why, this isn't a good idea. The first one is meta keywords. You will have seen these a long time ago. Search engines, you could actually just type in your HTML code what keywords would be relevant to your document, and they would use that to help rank you. Of course, you could put in any keywords that you wanted, so some people would put in a lot and then rank for a lot of things. That doesn't work anymore, so this hasn't been used for years. Don't bother with them, and there's other techniques that we can use instead. Paid links. So you used to be able to buy links into your website, and Google looks at links to determine if your website is important and if it's relevant. That also doesn't work anymore. These show up now as no follow. So if you do have advertisements on websites, they can't have a actual link back to your website. They have to put a little code that says, no, this person is paid for this link, and this shouldn't actually count towards the ranking of their website. If people don't attach those codes in advertisements, then Google would penalize you. Cloaking doorways. So this is a very old SEO technique where people would have a nice picture on the website, but they would hide a lot of content that the user couldn't read, and they would stuff it with a bunch of keywords. Again, Google has ways of recognizing this, so it's not a good technique. And the last one is something that I still see is where people just try to put a lot of keywords onto their website, and they stuff all the keywords that they want to use, so it's practically just all keywords on the web page, and that makes them rank higher, but it doesn't have good quality content. So Google also now can recognize that and will penalize you for it. And people also used to build up link directories in order to get people to their get more links to their website. Again, Google will penalize for this. Sorry, poor graphic transition there, but our conclusion is don't try to game the system. If you ask, is this shady? It probably is. And think about the user before, Again, Google rewards timely, relevant content, so make it optimized for humans first. Don't do things which are going to falsely inflate your results because you will get penalized for them. And if your website gets delisted from Google, you will lose about 60 to 70% of your traffic, which is obviously a big concern. All right, so let's talk about what we should do with SEO. And this is a pyramid created by SEO Moz. I also recommend that you take down the address, seomoz.org, because it's a great free resource for SEO. And this pyramid shows what you need to do in order to get optimal results. And it takes a lot of what seem like complicated factors and puts them into a nice, accessible, easy to read format. So the first thing starting at the bottom is accessible quality content. So this is, have you structured your website correctly in order for Google to be able to, and users to be able to travel through the website, to be able to find things easily, to be able to access it. And this has things like, have you built your URLs correctly? Have you set up your links correctly? Do you use sitemaps? So we'll talk a little bit more about that. The second thing is keyword research and targeting. So this is targeting towards your audience. This looks at what actual content is on the page. So we do things like keyword brainstorming, term phrase selection, and on-page targeting. This is taking your content, and this is going to be the part that's most relevant for people that are writing web copy. Third thing is link building. So Google ranks your web page not just based on what's on the website, but also how other web pages relate to you. And this is the thing that Google initially did to make it the most important search engine, is taking a look at, is the website that's linking to you, what is their importance, how credible is that website, and how many of these credible websites you have linking into your content. So a website that has a lot of links into them, especially from really credible sources, will usually be more important and more credible than a website that doesn't have a lot of links into them. So we look at ways that we can get more links into our website in order to rank higher. And fourth, and this is something which is newer, is social. So social is looking at social signals, so your Twitter and your Facebook, the amount of times that your website content gets shared across Twitter, Facebook, as well as Google+, is going to affect your rankings. So we're going to go through each level of the pyramid and talk about what exactly you can do to build this SEO pyramid for yourself and on your website. This is also a visualization that the periodic table of SEO ranking factors, so this is another way to look at it. It divides it by on-page SEO, so what we just talked about, having great quality content, off-page SEO, your links and your social. One thing I wanted to point out here as well is it matters where the person who's searching is located, and they're going to return different results based on location. So we're going to touch on that a little bit as well, because it's really important for legal content. At the bottom, you can see violations, so all the black hat SEO that we talked about, so keyword stuffing, cloaking, paid links, that all of these will lose you points. And then blocking is things that you might do in order, if you're building a new website and you don't want it to rank yet, or if you have certain content, like if you have duplicate content across multiple sites, blocking is things you might say to Google saying, I don't want this to rank. So they're called robots.txt files, and we'll get a little bit more into that later as well. So first is accessible quality content, how to build your website correctly. The number one thing is crawlability, and this means that the Google bot can, which is what they use to crawl around, like we saw that data visualization before, is traveling through your website easily. So first is that you should have one home page. And that sounds a little bit obvious, but some people will inadvertently have both a www.legaladvice.com and just a legaladvice.com without the www. So that's something to watch out for, because Google will recognize that as two home pages, and that will hurt your website rankings a lot. From your home page, the main top-level navigation should be linked from your home page, and you should set up your URLs to look like that as well. So it might have legaladvice.com/blog. And then from there, if you have a blog topic, it would be legaladvice.com/blog/topic. And that ideal site architecture is going to make it easy for Google as well as your user to travel around your website. Second is duplicate content. So Google looks at this as a way of spamming if you have the same content reprinted across multiple websites, or if you've just taken some content that you wrote for one section of your website and said, hey, I don't have time to write content for these other sections of my website, I'll just copy it. That is a bad thing to do, and you will get penalized for it. So there are reasons that you may end up having duplicate content, and there's certain tactics that you can take if that is correct. So duplicate content, for example, if you have one reason they come up a lot is press releases, or maybe you have blog content that you got with permission, got off another website to reproduce on your website. Make sure, if you are doing that, that you use what's called a robot.txt file to block out that portion of your website. So that's when you would use that blocking and tell Google, this portion of the website should not be crawled. I don't want this to be ranked. This is duplicate. You can also use what's called a rel equals canonical, and hopefully we'll cover a little bit more of that in the web lab, because this is a little technical. But this can say, I'm sourcing this portion of my website from another portion of my website. So please look at that other portion of my website for rankings, not at this portion of the website. And again, Google rewards timely, relevant content. So thinking about making fresh content, don't use duplicates, and do your best to write your own content for portions of your website, and that will help you rank higher. So again, use of the canonical tag. This is rel equals canonical. It's a little HTML code that you would put in if you have copied versions of your pages, that you would point them back to the main site. So this is what to do if you have duplicate content. .301 redirects are for 301 redirects are to use if you have an old page of your website that needs to be directed to a newer page. So let's say that you're taking down some old content. Make sure that you're passing that value. You don't want people showing up on that page and there being no content there. So make sure that you're passing that value through to the new page. And that's using a 301 redirect. You can speak to your webmaster and get them to help set this up, depending on how familiar you are with setting things up through your CMS. So this is URL structure. And you can see the top URL is something a computer might make and a computer might be able to read, but it isn't optimized for humans, and it also therefore doesn't help you rank well. So it has a bunch of numbers. It might be generated automatically by a computer. A proper URL should have words in it that are, as we said before, go from your home page and then show how you get to that page and use actual keywords in the URL. Again, you can use tools to help you deal with some of these accessibility issues. SEOmoz.org is one that you can choose to use. This is a premium service if you want them to go through and find your errors for you. It's a paid service. Out of all of them that I've used, I would say SEOmoz is the best one. There are cheaper versions such as Authority Labs that you can use. And also you can use something called Google Webmaster Tools, which is free, which will help you determine some of these errors. Some of the paid ones are nicer because they send you alerts and they automatically do it for you. But I would highly recommend Google Webmaster Tools if you don't want to use a paid tool. So some final tips is using Google Webmaster Tools to identify if you have any errors. Minimizing those robot.txt files that we talked about, so making sure that all of your site is crawlable, timely, relevant content. And the last one, and again, for those of you that maybe aren't very technical, might want to speak with your webmaster about this, but is using a sitemap.xml file. And this is a little file that you insert onto your web page that Google will look for when they crawl, and it gives them a full list of here's all the pages that I want crawled. So what you want to do is make sure that you optimize your site in the best way that Google can crawl it. So help them out and help them find your content, and this will ensure that you have higher rankings and Google rewards timely relevant content. All right, so moving on to keyword research and targeting. These are your on-page SEO factors. So before we get into how do I write content for the web, think about why are people doing web searches? A web search initiates because a person sits down at their computer and they need to solve a problem. So they have an information need. And think about what is that person going to type into Google in order to bring up results and what type of content that they're looking for. So this is the classic Venn diagram where you can see the searcher intent. So this is a person sitting down to do their web query. And the page content purpose, so this is you sitting down to write web content. If you are able to align these and figure out here's exactly what my audience is searching for, here's their information need, and this is what my content is going to be tailored towards, you win. And that's when you get the most overlap. The bigger you can make that middle space, the better that users are going to be able to find your content. So in order to do that, we need to do a review of the audience. So take a step back, and you can do this if you have marketing databases. You may have done some exercises with building your website. Any type of information that you have. If you have Google Analytics or any other analytics program, it's a very good place to start. Think about who are the people that are coming to my website? Who do I want coming to my website? Sit down with some coworkers and do some brainstorming about this and really map out who is your audience. And think what potential problems are they trying to solve? So why are they sitting down and completing that search? Another thing that I do is do a competitive review on Google. And you may not have any direct competitors, so to speak, but you have other people that are going to be competing for your rankings that you want in Google. They're a very good resource to take a look and see what words are they trying to rank for. And even if you take a quick look at their meta tags on their website, you can see specifically what are the keywords that they're trying to rank for. Take a look through their articles. What is it that they're writing about? And lastly is to make a list of what type of keywords that these people are likely to search into Google. So that searcher intent. There are some really cool tools that you can use to help you with this. Google AdWords, this is for them to make paid advertisements, and this is typically a tool you would use for setting up paid ads. However, you can also access this tool completely for free. You can make an account for free, and you can use it in order to do your search engine optimization. So when you're doing this, they'll have it's called the keyword tool, when you enter Google AdWords, and you type in a couple phrases that you think might be relevant, and Google will show you what it considers to be a bunch of other relevant phrases. It will go over what the competition level is for those phrases and how many searches that they normally get. So it'll give you an idea of exactly what are some relevant keywords, and take all of these and make them in a list. Google Suggest is another tool. So when you're doing a Google search, and I'm sure all of you have seen this, is when you're typing in your keywords, it'll bring up a bunch of other suggestions in the Google search bar, and searchers are very likely to click on these. So make sure that you're conscious of what is Google suggesting, and you can then make sure that your keywords are aligned. Add these ones to your list as well. And the last tool is Google Trends. So if you take a look at Google Trends, it will allow you to look at different terms and see how they're ranking over time. It will suggest related terms and then show you as well what the key locations are. So this is very good once you've started to make your list, is to double check in here, you know, what is my most important keyword? Is it legal advice? Is it law help? And do a comparison, and this will let you really say, hey, you know, I should probably optimize my homepage for legal advice, not law help. With looking at keywords, there's something called short tail versus long tail. Short tail is one word like legal, and long tail might be legal advice in British Columbia or free legal advice in British Columbia. People, because they're more familiar with search engines and they know that Google is going to return a large number of results, will type in longer search results now. Also, the people who type in longer search results are much more likely to take action on your website, whether that be fill out a form to get in touch with somebody or, you know, click through to other pages. Long tail searchers who find the right content are more likely to stay on your website. So aim for keywords that are usually about 3 to 4 words long. Don't just go for the basic 1 word or 2 word. The words that are only 1 word or 2 words will be very difficult to rank for as well. Let's say, for example, you wanted to rank for cats. That word's going to be almost impossible to rank for on anything because there's going to be so much competition, but you might be able to rank for, you know, small cats wearing hats or something like that, right, where you can really own that more particular keyword. The last thing, and I added this specifically because I know that legal advice is very regionalized and based on province. So you want to take a look and see how people search. Do they search legal advice British Columbia? Do they search legal advice BC? Are they looking for specific cities? And make sure that you include in your keywords those actual terms. So we can see when we were using the Google AdWords tool, this is from Google AdWords, the keyword tool, that legal advice BC rather than British Columbia is much more popular. So showing people are occasionally a little bit lazy perhaps, but so we would want to make sure that we put legal advice BC into our keywords, not using legal advice British Columbia, or use both, but use legal advice BC more frequently because that's what your searchers are looking for. So great, I have a big list of keywords. Now what? What you want to do is take every page on your website and make a list of it. So from your home page all the way through, if you have a lot of web content, this might be a little bit excessive. So start with your home page and do your top level pages, as well as some of the more frequently visited pages. So you can also take Google Analytics to determine this and make a list of exactly what your content is on your web page. And then you can take a look and see from all the keywords that I have and the ones that I've determined to be the most important, how do these line up with my existing content? For content that you already have written, but maybe you weren't as comfortable with SEO before, is you can then align those keywords to that content. And I would start with the shorter tail keywords for the bigger pages, like your home page, and then work down and use the longer tail pages on the more specific content on your web page. Specifically, if you have a blog or if you have specific resource sections, that's where we'd want to have those long tail search results appear. And if you have keywords that don't have any places to live, that's a good indication that you need to write specific content around that, and that's what your audience is going to be looking for. So once you have all of your pages and all of your keywords aligned, and you know exactly which keywords are for which page, as well as what content do I need to write, we can take a look at doing title and meta description tags. So these are little tags that go in your HTML, and usually if you're using, the most popular one would be WordPress, but if you're using any content management system, they'll give you a place where you can go and edit these directly within your content management system. So not to worry, you don't have to go write any code. So this is an indication to Google as to what your website is going to be about and what that specific page is going to be about. Your title is the direct title of your page, and that's going to appear as the link in Google. The meta description tag is what's going to appear as the description of the page. There are specific character limits on this. I believe the top one is 65 for the title tag, and the meta description tag is 155. So they need to be short. These are important to get your keywords in because Google is going to look for that. The other thing is you want to be considerate of your searcher. So make sure that you include your relevant content and make it human optimized, because you want the person to, when they're looking at Google, say, hey, this is a really great site that I want to look at. They're going to be selecting you from 10 other results. Make sure that you have interesting human optimized content that is informative about what your web page is going to be about, and include keywords within that. So some extra keyword tips here is human optimize your content. So always remember who is your searcher, what are they searching for, and make the content for them. This should naturally end up including keywords. If you know what keywords you're aiming for and you're writing copy around those, it should naturally occur. You don't need to worry about keyword stuffing. Don't try to get them in there too much. Be natural about it and focus on the reader, but make sure that you do include the specific keyword. So like I said before, if you want to rank for Legal Advice BC, Google won't know that your site, they won't know on their own that your site wants to rank for Legal Advice BC. You do need to specifically use that exact term. Also make sure to optimize your images and watch the length of your title tags and your URLs. So next is link building and off-page SEO. Link building, it will help you increase your page rankings. It will make your domain, so www.legaladvice.com or whatever it is, to look more authoritative on Google, and look more credible. It will make sure that all of your pages get checked frequently by Google if you have new updated content. And it will also drive traffic when people click on the links. So all around, it's good. I'm just going to skip through these in the interest of time because this is a little technical. And talk about how you can actually get links. So first way is manually requesting them. If you have partners, make sure that they have links to your website. And a lot of people will have a partner page on their website where they link. Make sure that you help out people as well by giving links to their website. And so you can ask your partners, or if there's directory listing, something like that, you can make a manual request. Competitive research. So take a look at where your competitors are linked right now. You can use things, if you're using a tool like SEO Moz, they'll do this for you. You can also use Bing Webmaster Tools and take a look and see where all their links are. Directory listings is a good place. I'm just going to skip this one actually. And talk a little bit about campaigns. Now, for legal advice, it's going to look a little bit different than a marketing campaign, but the same type of relationship still applies. So if you have really good content, so if you make something, you know, a brand new resource kit or something of the like, this is the best thing that you can do, and then send it out on social, you know, share it with some of your partners, send it to people maybe through email, a couple of people you know that might be interested, and you will find that great content get links back to your site. If you're doing events or webinars like this one, is a really good opportunity to get links back to your site. So promote when you make really great content, share it through traditional public relations type sharing, and then that will generate links back to your website. And the last one, I added this in as a bonus for you because I think that this is very relevant to legal content, is using correct citations. This is something that Google has started, which is new, looking at even if there's not a link on the page, but that they're using a reference to another page. And the number of references pointing to your site and your site pointing to other references is going to determine relevancy. So make sure that you're using citations properly, whether you want to do in-text citations or whether you want to do footnotes. That right now, I don't think that really matters so much, but make sure that you are using citations, and also if people are going to be citing your resources, that they're make sure that they're doing it correctly. So that's something really, you know, you can work with partners and things like that to make sure that it's done properly. The last one is social signals, and we may not have time to actually go through a whole social media strategy today, obviously, but this is going to be an important ranking factor. So I do encourage you to think about different ways that you can use social. Using for example, using PLEI Connect as a hashtag today is a great way to get content shared when you're doing webinars. And any other social tools that you can use in your toolkit, because the more people that share your content, Google is going to say, hey, this content must be really great quality, and it's going to rank higher. And I'm just going to share one final little tip here about Google+, and that is using the rel equals author code. So Google lets you link your content to your profile on Google+, and while I know Google+ isn't used all that much right now, it's not very popular, the amazing thing that it does, and let me grab the little arrow here and show you, is that it shows the picture in the search engine results. And when you do this, it makes your search engine result much more attractive, so you don't even need to necessarily rank high. But people say, oh, this person, you know, even I think just having the picture, but it adds that credibility. It'll show you how many people that person has in circles for Google+. So it's the easiest thing that you can do to improve your blog rankings without actually having to do a lot of SEO. And so that is pretty much the conclusion of the presentation. A couple final points that I have here is SEO is just one toolkit in your inbound marketing resources. However, the better that you can do at integrating all of these things together, so for example, if you're doing a news release, if you're doing your blogging, if you're doing online linking, if you're doing your social strategy, if you're doing webinars, be conscious of what kind of words that you want to rank for and make sure that you're including these in all of your content. The better that you can integrate your marketing efforts and focus on really your audience and what type of content that they're going to be searching for, the better that you're going to rank, and the better that you're going to get traffic across all channels. So SEO will help your other channels will help your SEO. And my final words of wisdom for you, and these are my practical hands-on tips, is make sure that you set set aside time each week for SEO. It can seem really overwhelming. I know we just went through a lot of different tactics and a lot of different things that you need to know. It isn't something that you need to do all at once. Set aside some time each week and say, hey, you know, I'm just going to work on fixing 5 pages on my website today, or I'm going to, you know, figure out what Google Webmaster Tools is, and I'm going to set that up on my website and take a look at some of these errors. So I have time booked in my calendar every week for the websites that I look at where I review SEO and where I just do some maintenance and some tweaks, make sure nothing's gone wrong, and that our content is as optimized as it should be. For doing any new content, it's really easy to just make a checklist. That makes sure you're consistent every time with what you need to do. So do I need to check my keywords? Do I need to do my title tag? Have I done my meta description tag? Make sure to measure your success. So using Google Analytics, you can look at your organic search results and measure your results over time. If you want to use any of those other tools, they'll also give you some analytics data that you can use to measure your success. It doesn't really matter too much how you do it, but have some key performance indicator that you can use in order to know if you're making any progress. Be a tortoise, not a hare. So it's actually negative to make really dramatic website changes all at once, and this can have negative impacts on your SEO. It's much better to do consistent SEO over a long time frame as opposed to make a whole bunch of edits all at once and then not touch it again for 6 months. So again, schedule time each week. Don't try to do a big overhaul or something like that. That will have negative impacts on you. And if you do too much at once, that's one of the things that sends signals to Google saying, hey, this person might be trying to spam the system, and that can get your website de-indexed. And my very last reminder, again, because this was drilled into my head, and I'm so happy and thankful now that it was, is that Google rewards timely, relevant content. So make great content for the searcher, and you will rank higher. And that was the summary of my presentation today.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Jill. There's a few points you made there that I'm so looking forward to Caroline touching, actually, because we learned the hard way some of the stuff you just said. We completely overhauled at Educalois, our website, in the last, 2 years. But we launched a new website in one bunch, and Caroline will probably talk about the impact of that this Thursday. But it's we learned a lot about 301 redirecting and stuff like that, because all our URLs were changing basically. So definitely there's some stuff to learn on Thursday. You'll see. We'll give you the example of what not to do in some cases, and a lot of what we do now that has brought up our statistics way back up now. So thank you. I would urge people now, if you have questions for Jill and Darren, who's been quiet actually, to use the Q&A section on the bottom right of your screen. It's Q&R in French if you have the French interface of WebEx. But definitely, while people are writing their questions, Jill, I would have one. You talked about a bit about the different channels, and I'd like, if you can, just to ask you to expand a bit more on that, because I think definitely that's something that that now we have to think of, is that there's so many digital channels now. It's not just about your website.
Sure. Let me just jump back, because I think we were just 2 slides back was the one you were asking about, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it depends. There are a lot of channels, like, for example, YouTube is a really good example that will appear in search engine result rankings. So you'll see sometimes little video clips that appear when you do a search. And you want to make sure as well with your YouTube video that and there you can look up, and I would recommend doing a Google search on this, but how to optimize YouTube videos. But there's certain techniques that you can do as well to make sure that those are keyword optimized, and that those appear well in YouTube. YouTube is, funnily enough, the 2nd most used search engine in the world. So things like that is making sure that those are aligned. And Google will look at signals from other things like YouTube to determine the relevance of your website. So SEO isn't something necessarily that just lives on your website alone. The other one I would see a lot is with things like webinars or with doing press releases are two things that are really important that you think about your keyword optimization and your links back to your website as well. And social, like I said, this certainly isn't the time to take on discussing doing a whole social media strategy, but social is used as a signal for Google to determine your website rankings.
Excellent. Yes, thank you. No, that definitely, I remember at the Just a Click Away conference, actually, I'm forgetting his name though, but maybe Brenda can help me. There was a speaker that spoke about digital ecology and how now your website is definitely not your only concern. It should be everything basically that points to it or that gets your brand out there, brand being in this case your website, but it's something to consider definitely. What's your basically digital footprint in this huge ecology of the web and all its different aspects of it?
It is a lot to think about, and I think also, obviously, I wouldn't recommend trying to do all of these things, but it's just whichever avenues that you're choosing, making sure that you're conscious about SEO when you're doing them. And similarly, if you're going to repost the content on you might want to the better rankings your website has, the more that other content is going to get shared too. So it can work vice versa. I think I see a couple more questions here. Yes,
go ahead. I see one from Fiona McCool from Clio in Ontario. We have a huge Drupal site with URLs that aren't too friendly, in quotation. I am planning to manually alias all of them to make them more SEO friendly. I suppose one should then resubmit their sitemap or something, question mark. We use a module for this, so would I rebuild the links when I'm done, question mark. I don't know if you understood what she's asking.
Yeah, I think so. So right now you have a bunch of URLs that have numbers in them, and then that you want to have those be more SEO friendly. But the problem is you already have all these existing links. So what you want to do is make sure that you have set up 301 redirects for the old links. I'm not as familiar with Drupal, so I would recommend asking an expert into how to do that. But you want to make sure that you redirect from your old link to your new link. So anyone that has a link to your old link on their website, when a user clicks on it, they'll automatically get redirected. And Google will read those 301 redirects and automatically transfer that. Sometimes it's referred to as link juice over to the new ones. With the question for the sitemap, depending on what you use, depending on your CMS, there may be a way that you can actually set it up to auto-submit your sitemap for you. I know with WordPress there's a bunch of plugins that will just auto-submit your sitemap and constantly update it for you. If not, you can go through to Google Webmaster Tools and you can manually request it to resubmit your sitemap. And I would definitely recommend doing that after doing any type of URL change.
Okay, so there was a question also from Jennifer Ramsey. Can you clarify what you just said about media releases?
Sure. So, and I wasn't sure how much maybe the audience on here was going to use them, but if you're submitting a media release across, like I think we use PR Web here, this is going to be a pretty credible source that is going to link back to your website. So it is a good way of doing link building. It is an expensive way of doing link building, but it is definitely beneficial. And it also, because press releases, it's going to get shared across a number of websites. Those will be listed as duplicate content, and press release websites are very good at correctly identifying that to make sure it doesn't penalize you. But those look very fresh to Google, and they look to be news, so that when we say timely relevant content, they see this as a good signal, hey, they have this really fresh content. So make sure when you're doing your press release that you think about what are some of the main keywords that I want my website to rank well for, and make sure that you use those in your press release.
Excellent.
So that will send signals.
We have another question from Nate at Courthouse Libraries of BC. With respect to embedding meta tags like title, etc., what can one do in the case of media wiki sites? Question mark. And what else is distinct or unique advice for media wiki?
So just to confirm that I understand here, this is sites where other users can add content.
Correct.
Like this is a shared authorship type site, I'm assuming. Oh, yes. I think Darren's actually going to field this question.
Okay, hi Darren. I just unmuted you.
Okay, all right. I tried jumping in there, but I didn't. It wasn't working. Yeah, for MediaWiki, I think all the advice that we talked about here would certainly apply there as well. The main thing that you're going to have to look at with, especially if you're looking at user-generated content, MediaWiki, for those that aren't familiar with it, is the software that powers Wikipedia. And you can also download it and use it to host your own wiki software. With user-generated content is great and can also be quite useful from an SEO perspective. But one of the things you have to be aware of is that oftentimes people that are contributing content are not going to be tagging their content correctly or using, when you mentioned there are things like title tags or using H1 tags correctly and stuff in their content, that's going to make it more optimized for search engines. So our recommendation there would be just to, get an understanding of some of the best practices about SEO, and as your users contribute content, make sure you're just kind of following along and just kind of cleaning up the articles, using H1, H2, H3 tags correctly, setting the title tags correctly, using the same strategies around keywords that Jill talked about earlier, and use that for the content there as well too. I will jump in just on the earlier question there about Drupal as well. We've done something you want to do when you're doing a big switchover from one site to the next is to use a tool that's going to allow you to do those 301 redirects, so you can catalog all your existing URLs and make sure that you go through one by one. I know we've used a tool for WordPress that allows you to actually download your URLs as an Excel spreadsheet, so you can say, okay, this is the original URL, and this is what the new URL, the redirect, should be, and upload it back into the system. And then the other nice thing about that, it'll actually track when somebody gets a 404 or come to a dead page, if they go to a URL that doesn't exist anymore, you can actually capture that and turn that into a 301 redirect and redirect them to the correct page. I believe there is also a plugin for Drupal that provides something similar there as well too. So I definitely want to watch your 404s for hints as to where people are coming, and you want to redirect them to someplace better. And I think you can resubmit your sitemap like Jill mentioned, or you can just wait and let Google reindex it. It's not going to happen overnight, but over time you'll start to see more and more of those old URLs disappearing from the search results and the new ones filtering in.
Yeah, correct. Thank you, Darren. Caroline actually has something to say. Yes, Caroline.
Yeah, as we're nearing the end, I just wanted to touch up to let people know what we're going to be talking about tomorrow. If you look at the
Thursday, just to correct you.
Thursday.
Not tomorrow.
If you look at the pyramid, the SEO pyramid that was presented today, from the bottom to the top, accessibility, keyword research, link, and social. So these 4 blocks. I'll be going through what we did for all of these blocks and giving tips and where we did well and where we didn't do well, and spending a lot more time on the base of the pyramid. So I'm not very technical. We work much more on the content side of the website. So I'll give you tips on how to build the SEO from that point of view.
Well, thank you, Caroline. That's a great segue, actually, for my my last bit. So I'd like to thank Jill and Darren, especially for today. Thank you so much, and definitely remind people, don't forget to register for PLEI Connect, of course, continue your online community. But don't forget to register for Thursday's web lab. As Caroline said, we're going to say, talk to you about how we applied a lot of the stuff that was mentioned today at Éducalois, and definitely go into your own questions and discuss with Darren and Jill that will also be with us on Thursday. So don't forget, 9:30 Pacific, 12:30 Eastern on this Thursday, March 2nd. And to register, as Fiona just sent to everybody, it's clbc.webex.com. And so thank you again to the different project partners of this project. We have a few minutes left only. And thank you. Okay, thank you. For the link, sorry, doing two things at the same time. I'm a guy, apparently it doesn't work. Courthouse Libraries of BC, Éducalois, and PovNet are the 4 project partners. And thank you to our funders, again, the Law Foundation of Ontario and the Department of Justice of Canada. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for this great lesson today, and we'll see you all on Thursday, hopefully. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.